Oop. Hi. So this is the Drupal 8 usability meeting for May 15th, 2018. And we collected 3 topics ahead. And we're gonna start with media with Adam.
Hey, folks. So the current situation of the media library is that we have a patch which Andrew just kindly reviewed for us for accessibility feedback, and a fair amount of it, and we fixed just about all of it. A few of those pieces of feedback are deficiencies in views, and we've opened follow-up issues for that. So I am going to be completely incommunicado for 7 days starting tomorrow. So I would really like to get this patch to RTBC. And so I just kind of want to show it really quickly, just to refresh everybody's memory and, collect any final accessibility feedback or UX feedback on that, and hopefully just RTBC the thing. But that remains to be seen. So do people remember how it looked, or should I do another quick demo of it?
It might be good to do so, at least for people viewing it in YouTube later.
Okay, I will share my screen here. Can everybody see my screen? My Drupal?
Yep.
I got me a Drupal. Also, let me just kill Signal so that I don't get IMs. Okay, so I'm sorry I just set this up in a hurry. Let me go to where my media is located here. So this is the media library. Let me add a thing. Image should do the trick. Let's see what I got. All right, it's a sloth, hooray. And I do not know why I don't see the thumbnail. That's disturbing, but no, whatever. I assume this is a simply test problem. That's very, very annoying. But if this was working, you would see a thumbnail, an actual thumbnail here. Let me just add another one. Maybe I'll have better luck this time. And another sloth. Damn it. I guess we're not getting any actual thumbnails here. But that sucks. So one of the pieces of, yeah, sorry about that. But if this was working correctly, and there is a screenshot as to kind of that's what it looks like under high contrast. Let me find it kind of looks more like this right now, according to the screenshots that we had. And that's how it's supposed to look if thumbnails were working on Simply Test right now. But in any event, you have your items. You can click the thumbnail to select or unselect, or there's a checkbox right here which does the same thing. There are drop buttons, as you would see in views, and filters for whatever purpose you have. So some of the feedback we've addressed here is the ability to select all was asked for, and so we brought that back. We put these buttons, these apply filters buttons, were moved inline with these form elements just to collapse, just to make it smaller, because there was just a lot of, it was really pushing down the contents of the view way down the page, and we wanted to just streamline that a bit. There were several accessibility items, mostly concerned with making sure that screen readers can identify like what this checkbox is for. So there's a lot of labels, like hidden labels, that were changed. There's a couple of issues about the drop buttons having that same problem, where to screen readers and assistive technology, it's not entirely clear what item is being talked about. And we have follow-up issues to fix those because they need to be fixed primarily in views. And those are stability blockers for this module. They're not commit blockers, but they are stability blockers. And the reason this is even an issue is because this is the first view in core that departs from the table paradigm, where you have a table that lists all of your stuff, and instead it's all just it's much more visual in this way. So yeah, that's my quick and extremely dirty demo of a thing that doesn't even work in terms of thumbnails. Sorry about that. Any quick thoughts on that, or like shoot from the hip thoughts about that from an accessibility standpoint or a UX standpoint?
Yeah, from accessibility, I noticed we got the broken images and we can see the word thumbnail twice. I've got one that's working locally, and I can just see that phrase thumbnail is the alt for the image, and I don't see why we're not using the alt text that comes from the individual media items.
It's a really good point. I think I want to say that that's a known issue in media itself, but that's a really good point. I'm going to screenshot this so I can post that, and we can look into it. And that's the bright side of having a demo that breaks, is you can find the underlying problems like that. Anything else from anyone?
I was thinking, I'm not sure about that, but I was thinking why the select all is a select instead of a button.
Okay.
It's more an action. I'm not sure if it's better, but I could expect a button.
So I think the reason it's a select, actually, that's a really good point. And let me just add a page here. I think the reason that it's the case is we're copying a thing that Views already does.
Yeah, in a table.
But it makes more sense in a table.
Exactly.
Than something like that. That's a really good point.
Yeah, I was just doing a quick research right now, and I can't find what's better, actually.
So a button would not be better, or a button would be the best option?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll definitely mention in the issue that you said that.
Yeah. I'll do a little bit more of research because I'm not sure.
Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, I don't want to block it for too much longer, but I'll mention that, and I'll just say we're waiting on design feedback about that. Anything else?
I think Christina just mentioned it's not an accessibility issue at all. I think either would be fine.
Okay.
I'm leaning into the button as making more sense.
Yeah.
You know, because as she says, it's an action. Yeah, but I'm on the fence about it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's more like, I mean, if you have a table, as you were saying, you would expect that, but otherwise, I don't know.
A button, or it's just more of an action that you can take with all these things that are suddenly there.
Yeah.
Okay. We can.
Anyway, I'm gonna do a research before saying something for sure.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else have any thing they want to bring up with this? No.
Maybe, but it's just a really small thing. It's when you were on the issue and you showed the thumbnails, this one exactly for the audio on the documents. Maybe the icon could be smaller.
Icon could be smaller.
The designs was smaller.
Let me try something really, really quick, because I mean, I don't know if this will actually work, but if I upload like a PDF of a thing, I'm just wondering if it'll use that, and then we can just like, oh, for Christ's sakes. All right, I guess I don't have a PDF handy. But yeah, I'm not sure exactly. I think it probably looks about the way it looks in that screenshot though. So the question of can they be smaller is...
Yeah, I think in one of the designs that we upload, I'm just going back on the...
Yeah,
no, there's no more going back. in a Slack, we can get the designs. So are there in the issue maybe? Well, I thought they were, yeah.
Is what we, this looks like what you actually posted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's a good question. Let me look into that and post a screenshot. And if the icons are too big, we can kick it back for that too.
Cool.
Yep. Or at least we can open a follow-up for that.
Yeah.
I don't know how complex that
is. Important thing for at all.
Any other comments, questions? Guess not. I'm going to assume not. And yay, we're down to 3 things, more or less. All right, cool. Well, thank you, everybody, for looking into that. I appreciate it. And I'm sorry again about the demo being non-functional. Well, mostly non-functional. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Cool. Thanks.
Thank you. Are we ready to talk about the UX study then? Chris?
There's that unmute button. Hello, everybody. This is Chris Weber reporting in from Minnesota, where we're organizing a UX study to correspond with the Drupal Camp Twin Cities this year. We've got the folks at the University of Minnesota engaged. And I learned just yesterday that they are actually planning their own study of, I believe it was the layout builder. They called it layout edit, but I'm pretty sure it's the layout builder. So perhaps we have a really good pool of people that we could pull into a UX study of our own design. And I have a link to share. If I could find the comments. Our current kickoff plan is here. It's empty. It's got a lot of boilerplate in it. But as far as the questions that we've been asking about what should be tested, the main question that we needed to answer by tomorrow was what kind of people should be included in the test. I've been talking to a number of people on this call, and the overwhelming response has been we want to specifically test content editors. And so the University of Minnesota will try to recruit content editors to bring into the test. You may all recall a similar test or a study that was done a couple of years ago at the University of Minnesota, where we were testing the interaction of the block system with users. And hopefully, I hear that there are no permissions there. I did not share the right link. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. 1 second. Hopefully this is the right one. Back to this. Paste. Slightly different. Let me know if that one works. So we're in the early stages of organizing the study. And as far as what script to run, what specifically to study, we're looking forward to hearing your input. I've been talking to Christina, and I got an email a while ago from Roy saying that there was perhaps a script that had already been worked on that might be available to tap into here. And I've been talking with Emily and Tim about specific items that they may want to test. I'm looking forward to hearing within the next week or so those specific items, big goal, big tent items that wanted to be tested so that we can craft a test script for the recruited users. That was a lot of words I just said. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts?
Hi. As you might know, we were also planning to prepare some kind of UX study with several people that we met at DrupalCon, and we came up with a plan, and it's great that we can work with other people on that. What we were discussing is the main target for the UX study that we already talked on the emails, and it was that we were going to focus on the content editor itself instead of focusing on the developers or the site builders. That's what came up on the previous meetings we had these past weeks. And the main idea behind that is that the reason for that is that the content editor at the end is the person that is going to spend more time in Drupal at the end. So, and also if we make stuff more usable for them, it can also be applied to other roles. And from there, our initial plan is where just start with first and quick study with some content editors with already some experience in Drupal to find some pain points. And on a second step, it was more comparing with other CMSs or other content editors and other apps like content editors to see what patterns are they using that are useful.
So is that a comparison of perhaps content editors that are new to Drupal compared to content editors that have seen Drupal before, maybe have a little bit of experience with Drupal? Is that comparison still important?
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure if we want to compare from ones to others, from the ones that have experience, comparing them with the ones that don't have experience. Instead of that, what we want to find is patterns that work on other places. So that's the main goal of the second part. And the first part was finding things that doesn't work right now on what we have right now in Drupal, and trying to use the Umami profile, the out-of-the-box profile, so we can have already some content placed there and some context to work on and to present the text to the user. That's what we have planned so far. We don't have more stuff planned yet.
The reason why I brought up the comparison of users that have experience with Drupal and those who do not was that was the specific breakdown, that specific comparison that was done in the previous study all those years ago. So it sounds like what you're saying is that instead of comparing users that might have experience with Drupal and those who do not, it's just generally important to bring in content editors who do not have experience with Drupal to see if they get the user interfaces they find in the Umami user profile.
Yeah, because we are kind of contaminated by Drupal. I mean, we know why everything is where it is. So people that doesn't know or doesn't expect the things where they are, and that they can actually say that I wasn't expecting it, for example. So that would be a good way of finding pain points right now on forms, or maybe not only on the form itself, but also on the structure that we have right now, or the information architecture that we have right now. That it's something that at some point we will have to change anyway.
That's awesome. This whole thing sounds awesome. It's just awesome that we have this opportunity to use their UX research lab. But the goal is, during the experiment, to provide the ability for people to remotely attend and supervise the actual study. That's what was set up at the last study. There are a number of steps that we'll need to do in order to get to that point, and including actually doing the recruiting of users and setting up the test. My main goal with crashing your party at this call was to introduce the study and the fact that this thing is going to move forward, and also figure out who I should be in close communication with in order to gain the things that we'll need to gain in order to get the study to actually happen. Things like the script, if there are specific tests or I don't know. I've never actually. I've only seen like one UX script. So I don't know how they generally look. I don't know if they're detailed or if they're high level or anything like that. But perhaps even someone I can talk to educate me on what are the right questions I need to ask or things to prioritize in order to make this thing a real thing.
Michelle and Sarah, and also Suzanne, they said that they actually have experience on that. Actually, Michelle mentioned several tools that we can use, but I don't have right now them in mind. I know Optimal Workshop, but I think they said some other ones. So maybe they are the ones, or maybe Emily also can help on that because she recently worked on something.
Right. Over in the Drupal Slack, I've created a new channel in order to basically make this a rapid fire conversation. It's under TC Drupal _UX _study. I like to be for both. I'll see if I can recruit Michelle and Suzanne to join. Christina, thank you, and Emily, thank you for joining. We'll see if I can use this as ground zero for the progress that we're going to make for the UX study.
Great, and thank you for sharing it.
Yeah, it looks like I can copy a link for it. I'll paste it in, and then I will be quiet. You guys proceed with your normal meeting. It's really an honor to make something like this happen. Thank you all.
Thank you. So I think the only other topic that we've had listed is the admin UI redesign progress.
Okay. If you were expecting some designs, I'm sorry. It's not going to happen today.
No, not particularly. Just curious what was happening and that, and where we could go if that would.
Okay. Anyway, we are working with a goal to have designs or proper something to start from for Frontend United, but so far just explorations. And so on the design part, we are some designers right now. Well, actually, it's only 3 of us. If you know any designer that wants to get involved and actually have time for that, it would be great. And so far, we want to be not many people, a small group of designers, but in some weeks we're going to open it to other designers in the admin UI channel if they want to help, because it's going to be probably work for extend the system design. And apart from that, and what is actually really important is the new theme, the 8th theme or ocho or whatever you want to say it. Apart from the name, that I wouldn't care much about that right now. The main problem that we have here is that we need someone to lead the development for the new theme. I mean, I'm front end, I could do that, but I can't do both the theme and the design. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that actually could work on that. And we had a person in mind some weeks ago, but he said that it was going to be some work. So probably by the end of the week or next week, we are going to make I don't know how to say that in English. How do you say? We're going to ask for people to, if they want to get involved on that, and if anyone wants, or the plan is to say that, and to ask if anyone wants to actually lead that. But the problem is with saying that openly is that maybe some people that doesn't have experience in Drupal or something like that gets actually asks for being a leader, and I don't know how to handle these things. But actually, we need someone to lead the theme implementation. So some help here will be really useful, because otherwise we are going to me or someone else is going to start a theme, but we won't have enough time for that. So if you know someone that could be interested, or otherwise by the end of the week, we are going to ask it in the admin UI if anyone wants to lead. And of course, if other people wants to join and start working on that. And apart from that, there aren't too many updates that are really important. So I don't have much more things right now to explain.
That's helpful. Thank you very much. So I think like the goal sounds like then for Front End United, we'll have some designs to kind of look at. Dries will be there so he can provide his kind of high level thoughts and kind of get some direction going. And then what would be great then between when we know like quote unquote the spec, or have an idea of close to what the spec will be, after that it would make it, I think, easier to attract a developer or two to help work on it. And then if we have that, like we could run like a second sprint in dev days, like a month later, to try and bang the theme out. Like that would be the ideal situation, it sounds like.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't have any other issue to talk about.
Okay, cool. Looking forward to seeing you in a couple weeks.
Yeah, the same.
All right. Any other topics from people that joined?
I magically have one, maybe. It's very rough though, so I'm not sure. So if anybody else has anything else to talk about, feel free to do that. Like literally anyone else. Yay, okay, cool.
It's something that I noticed over the weekend when I was trying out some of the patches that we've got in core at the minute. It's to do with dialogues, and I've noted some buggy behavior. It turns out I noticed this a while back, but and I found an issue then, but I have I think it's probably going to be more relevant because there's a bunch of issues coming through that want to make more and more use of dialogues. So the one I found it on was the workflow issue where they want to make adding a state or editing a state or transition. They want to move that into a dialogue instead of a separate page. So, you know, the whole thing's a bit more like views is at the moment. I'm going to grab I think maybe share my screen and demonstrate the issue. Let me find the share screen somewhere. Okay, so right, can everyone see a media library and 3 parrots?
Yeah.
Okay, you got my screen. So we're going to leave this behind and visit the first of all, we'll go to the views page. Pick a view. Pick a random dialogue. I'm going to turn the screen reader on.
Main list with 2 items. Add field.
And what you've got is this is Chromevox, and it's also given us a really strong highlight, little orange outline around the focused button. So if I press this, we'll hear that the dialogue is announced.
Enter dialogue. Add fields dialogue.
So it told us that we'd entered the dialogue, and it told us that the dialogue was called add fields. And this is the desirable behavior. And where we can find it going wrong.
Tab created. Chrome box is now inactive.
If we go to the block layout page and try again. Turn the
Main
screen.
table. Place block in the primary menu region. Link.
So if I do this one, we'll also get a dialogue, but the bug is that it's not going to announce the dialogue.
Place block in the primary menu region. Link.
Instead, what it did is it opened the dialogue, and it didn't tell us that. Instead, it repeated the name of that place block in primary menu. And we can see that the focus is still on that link, which says place block. And what hasn't happened
Enter dialogue.
is we hadn't moved into the dialogue. And so I've been trying to figure this out, but the JavaScript involves like the Drupal dialogue JavaScript and the Ajax system working together, and the Drupal dialogue is based on a jQuery UI thing, so it's hard to find my way around what's actually going on. But that's the bug, and I've already filed that in. I filed an issue for that with the block UI, but I'm not sure whether we need to sort of do an additional extra step for every kind of place that we're using these, or whether there is a way that we might be able to fix this in the Ajax or the dialogue systems themselves. Because when we get to there's currently 3 issues that are also wanting to bring more and more dialogues in. So one is the workflow settings that I mentioned, but there's also the idea that deleting content entities or config entities instead of skipping through an extra page to confirm that you are going to, confirm the deletion. We're going to have it in a dialogue, and if those dialogues aren't announced and aren't focused, it's going to be a brick wall barrier, I think. Someone's going to click delete and not know how to proceed. So that's the issue. Anyway, I filed an issue a while back, year back, in fact, for the place block. But I think it might be something we need to fix more widely in core for everywhere that we use dialogues. So that's my demonstration done, and I'll get an issue link for you.
Home box is now inactive.
Okay, over to someone else.
Yeah, I think it would need someone with enough experience with the dialog API for this. I don't think we have. I was trying to Google in the meantime, but I haven't found it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be probably a blocker to being able to move those confirmations over to a dialog.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Angie, you want to go next?
Okay. Hi, everybody. What I worked on a little bit, then by a little bit, I mean like I've spent like an hour on this, so just bear in mind that. Is this oldie but a goodie issue? 292-2986, which is, here I can pull up my screen, which is a Drupal.org issue to add landing pages for initiatives. This came out of, well, I mean, it's a long-standing problem that we've had is like, you know, there's all these initiatives. We keep announcing more all the time. So like, here's the strategic initiatives page. We have, you know, all of these main, you know, Drupal 8 initiatives like migrate and media and blah, 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 like these. Then at DrupalCon Nashville just a few weeks ago, Dries announced another 6 of them. And then we have a variety of like community initiatives that people work on, you know, like PHP units, new help system, all these kinds of things that don't meet the criteria for like a strategic initiative, you know, like they don't have like the data and the vision and the market and the blah, 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 that kind of stuff, but yet are important things that people are working on. And even if you're trying to only track these kind of main, like 9 of them or whatever, there's still a ton of stuff there. There's like, each one of these has a different roadmap. A lot of teams meet regularly at a certain channel. They might post their updates to a Twitter account somewhere. La, 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 la. It's like, it's really a lot to keep track of, even if like myself and Gabor, your full-time job is keeping track of initiatives and what's happening. It can be really, really challenging. Also, coming out of DrupalCon, whatever the last year's North American one was that Baltimore? I think Baltimore. You know, like the media team talked about how it's challenging for them to like publish what they're trying to work on and do fundraising and this kind of thing. And so anyway, so there's like this need express. We did a bunch of back and forth. Roy made some different mock-ups, like here's an initiative title, an image, why we're doing this, what we're doing, who's on the team, and that kind of thing. And actually put it into practice on the out-of-the-box experience initiative like plan issues. So if you go here, you can kind of see how he pictured this looking. The problem with this is that it's, you know, good luck remembering that URL, right? First of all. Secondly, you got all this unrelated stuff, and then to make updates to this and stuff, you're kind of dealing with the entirety of this scary issue form, which goes on and on and on. And there's no way to really very easily get an overview of all of these things and kind of see what's what. So Gabor and I then sat down to kind of build off of what Roy came up with. We did some counter mockups and this kind of thing. And then the DA gave me a little sandbox developer site thing. And so I've been playing around with that. And so what I've done is made this initiative content type. And originally the initiative content type was just going to be like a regular old content type with fields like short name and description and what are we doing and who are we and these kinds of things. But then as I kind of got into it and I was looking especially at like these mock-ups that are like, what if we had like a news feed and like recent activity and like, you know, events that are coming up and these kinds of things. I thought it would actually be really helpful now that we have organic groups on Drupal.org for these to be organic groups, because then you can do things like create well, content types like say initiative event or initiative update that can all be kind of included in these things, you know, and kind of go through that. So I made one just as an example, which is that initiative. It looks like complete ass right now because I haven't gotten around to figuring out how panels works yet. So none of this is laid out. It's just like stock things, but you can see that we track like the name of the initiative, the like the image associated with that initiative, a little short description, a longer description, kind of a bulleted list of what our goals are, who are the main people to contact the initiative. I want to make that little pretty pictures of people and stuff, and how to help. Here's where we talk. Here's the roadmap. And like those kinds of things. And the other cool thing about doing this on Drupal.org is you can add the supporting organizations field. So I'm able to credit like 5 Mile Media and Anortech, just like we are able to credit organizations on project pages. We can do that here as well. So yeah, so this is kind of like the very bare bones of what I've got going so far. It's still very, very, very rough. So you can kind of get an idea of, the form. I also have a donations link. Like if people are, collecting money via PayPal or something, they can do that. Here's further resources for important blog posts or that kind of thing. And then once I figure out views and stuff, the idea would be that like one of these landing pages would have like a sidebar here, or we talked about it actually being like an endlessly scrolling page or something with little inserts here and there for like activity. But yeah, so anyway, this is what I'm working on. Still very rough. And yeah, I would love feedback if people think that would be useful or a waste of time or whatever. And then my goal then would be like a global overall landing page of these things. And then the other cool thing is if they're, their initiatives, like anybody can add one, you know what I mean? So you just say, I'm now on the, University of Minnesota, UX testing initiative or something, you know what I mean? And then you start filling this thing out. And you can track issues that you're working on and who's helping with it and that kind of stuff. And then you have like a simple landing page on Drupal.org with all of the things. So yeah, thoughts?
Yes, please.
I'll weigh in. It's exactly, Angie, as you started talking about it, it's exactly like I was like, not a project page, but a group. And this is exactly the direction I was imagining you like this would work. One thought on initiatives. I mean, categorizing initiatives could be really useful, like typing them. Like, I'm not sure exactly what that would mean, but it's like, is it a coding initiative? Is it a UX initiative? Is it a feature initiative? Is it a group? Because then it'll help people understand immediately when they get there what they're looking at. Is it theming, a front end initiative?
Type. I also wanted to put like a status field, like, in planning, in development, active, something like that. So people kind of get an idea of what's happening. I can make the typing much bigger here. But yeah, so type is a good idea. So like UX versus, sorry, what did you say? Coding versus
theming, front end. I mean, that's like, we'd have to look at what our current initiatives are and what the categorization might be, but oh, you know what? Decoupled.
Yeah.
Like decoupled. If there's an initiative, like the JSON API initiative is kind of a decoupled or API first.
Maybe
API.
that's more like a free tagging field. Like add like keywords about your thing. Because like another thing is like a lot of these initiatives don't fit cleanly in one bucket. Like let's take layouts for example. Layouts is extensively a UX improvement, right? But there's a lot under there. There's like underlying API issues, particularly related to, or actually workflow is a much better example because there's workspaces, which is a UI, but so you need UX stuff for that. But you also need to basically fix the entire Drupal revision system in order to do that too. So some way to identify like we need help, like this kind of help, because a lot of initiatives need documentation help, even if they're not ostensibly about a documentation related task. So maybe that's another area. Yeah, that's great. That's great feedback. Other bits of feedback here. I can try and move my notes so you can see them. I'm sorry this is so ugly. I just need to figure out panels. If anyone wants to sit with me and help me figure out panels on Drupal.org, that would be great. But I'll figure it out eventually.
I like that supporting organizations are there.
Yeah.
So when because they get credit for like case studies and commits, but maybe you've got like 10 core issues that you've worked on, but you know, if an organization's 10 core issues are all one initiative, that's, you know, that's something that's kind of probably needs a different weight on the scoring on the marketplace and that. But I think that's a really good thing to have, because 5 Mile Media and Anatech are both really small groups, but the initiative there is a really high profile, very visible thing for core.
Yeah, and it looks like this automatically ends up showing up right here under project supported. I don't know how this is scored, like in the services listing. I'm not sure if project supported ends up bumping you up 20 points versus fixing a typo is 2 points. Like, I don't have any visibility into that. But yeah, this was something that Sean from the media initiative was asking about. Is like, this would be a great way to incentivize companies. I mean, obviously we could like make it look prettier. Like right now, it's just like literally a link and a description of how they're helping. But yeah, but that's something we can.
Yeah, I'm definitely a fan of making it look prettier. Also with profiles, I really am a fan of like, I feel like we need to come up with a design where we highlight someone a little better with a photo, their name, even like some information about like we want, for people to gain on this page, you want some information about who's the person, what are they contributing, what's their specialty, who do they work for?
Yeah.
That makes a big difference.
Right? So it's like name and then role. I didn't think about mentioning company here, but I'll think about that. That's sometimes a little sticky where people they might work for a company, but they're doing this in nights and weekends time, and then they don't necessarily want their company getting free, you know. But put
I think that could be listed as supporting organizations, though, in that case.
Yeah, I think that's a better way to handle it.
I understand that, but I feel like that should be something people could selectively customize. It makes a much stronger pitch, because if company X has 3 people working on the initiative, it visually and those 3 people agree that we're being paid full time to do it, to show them, you know, name, you know, working on front end, and he is sponsored by blank. It encourages that sponsorship more than just. It also should list the company. I want to be clear; it's both.
Yeah.
But
I kind of agree with having the company, with having this information on the company, but not on the person itself.
Okay, well, that's something we could take. Like, we can come to this issue and we can kind of hash that out. I'm currently at like phase 0, which is like, I don't remember how to build Drupal sites anymore. But look, I made a content type and it kind of worked, so that was good. So I don't know. Like, what I'm trying to do is like do as much of this as I can that's just clicking around in the UI and then exporting as a feature that doesn't require custom code. Because I feel like if any of this requires custom code, that's going to like throw it off forever. But I noticed that sponsoring or supporting organizations is a field collection. So presumably, if they were able to make field supporting organizations, there would be a way to create a field initiative team or something like that that has name and role, like, you know, Christina is like the lead designer, say, of the admin UI initiative or something, and then the company could be an optional field on there as well. Because it is nice, you know, it is nice to see, like, for the workflow initiative, for example, you've got at least 3 or 4 people paid full time by, you know, Pfizer in various forms, but there's also people from like completely unaffiliated organizations working on that, like people from Tag One and people from Previous Next. So seeing that collection of different which that works. I just know, like, I used to work for Lullabot, and you know, I would do my 40 hours a week in my normal job, and then I do my 40 hours a week in my volunteer job after hours, and like I would have had a problem with crediting them for, like, to some extent, like, I got time to work on this stuff at work time, but it was definitely much more like destroying my marriage than it was. You know what I mean? So like, we just had to be comfortable. But I think I agree, like, if people are given the option to do that, to put in whichever, you know, company affiliation or none, you know, that they feel comfortable with, I think that's probably fine.
Or they say they're working on their own time, and they could even put, I mean, ultimately they could put a link saying sponsor my effort here.
Yeah,
Long
yeah.
term. I'm just giving you like, I don't want that
that's
to.
great. So like one question I had is like I have one single donations link field. I feel like from an end user point of view, like I'm company A who uses Drupal and I have a checkbook, or not a checkbook, a credit card. That's better. Or Bitcoins. I don't know. But anyway, I feel like I want it to be easy. I want like one place to go to give you guys money, and then you guys sort out amongst yourselves how you're gonna flitter it out. Because I feel like if the Views and Core initiative, for example, had 6 different fundraisers and one for Tim and one for Jess and one for this, that would have been very confusing. It's much better for like people to have a single place to put money, and then for the initiative teams to kind of work out amongst themselves that they understand like these 3 people are paid full time, so they don't need that money, but you 2 are volunteers, who are going to split it 50-50 or however you want to do it. But I was thinking like, I mean, we can make this field as crazy as we wanted it to be, but I was kind of thinking like a single link or email address. I don't know what the right field type is, but I was thinking like that is probably the way to do it. Like for web form, you know what I mean? If I went to the web form project page and there was a donate link on there, say, for me, I don't want to know who all these people are and like all this. I just want to like big bass button. It's like donate to make web form happen faster or something. You know what I mean? And that would be easy. So that's kind of what we were going for here is like, like a single point of entry for like, here's all the ways you can help. This takes you to a contrib Kanban where you can find a place to jump in, and this is where you donate funds. And that's kind of it. So, but I'm also happy to be told that I'm wrong about that, and that's silly. So.
I don't think you're wrong, but I think it's important. The labeling needs to be customizable because there's donate fund. Two problems. One is some companies are going to want an open collective so that it's tax deductible, and some companies will be okay with PayPal.
Yep.
Maybe there should be more than one link, or ways like different ways to help, and let people customize those buttons and make suggestions on the buttons that they would do. Donate funds could work. I mean, it'd be nice to get people to join an open collective and phrase it that way. That's a lot more
Yeah, I mean, this is just a link field, so like I can make it so that people can customize the label and then where the destination is and stuff like that. So
I would like that. I mean, I personally would like that because I think different people are going to want to use different systems, and sometimes it's donations, sometimes it's ongoing funds. I mean, ideally, it'd be open collective when you talk about transparency.
Yeah,
but we're not there yet, so it's.
That's really good because that would be a really, if that sort of approach of funding took off, it'd be a real incentive for freelancers getting involved in initiatives.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I know the Drupal Association is doing some kind of. Is it Open Collective, Jacob?
Yes. Well, it came up because of the events. They're suggesting using Open Collective for getting the funding for events sorted out because. There's a couple of different angles they're talking about Open Collective. That's the one that I heard about recently.
Somehow I went to some spam site. This is what we want. Yeah. So this is kind of like, I don't remember the name of that thing. Git tip, I guess, back in the day, where it's like you have a project set up and then there's so many backers that you can have. And then how the money is spent is all very transparent. So you can see, here's the people getting money. Here's, we did a diversity sponsorship. We did a design and release of whatever, you know what I mean? So it's transparent in both directions. You can see who's donating. You can see what expenses are going against the account. And so it gives both people incentive to be, or both parties rather, incentive to be transparent with one another. So.
What this page, when you look at it, brings up a really interesting concept is there's people who back projects with physical resources of people, and this is sponsors, and this is a big thing with Open Collective and Patreon, where they show how much people are donating. Like a platinum sponsor is donating $500 a month or contributing. I don't know how you bring that into the Drupal.org page, but it's a really.
Yeah, I'd rather not. Like, originally my vision for this was like, none of this would be on Drupal.org. This would just be like a dumbass skeleton page on Drupal8initiatives.org or something. And then it would, just call out to other places. Because what I don't want is I don't want this thing to be a huge maintenance suck for initiative teams. Like ideally, initiative teams have to build out one big ass long form one time, and then from then on, everything is seamless. But if they have an API, like if we could standardize on something like Open Collective, and if they have an API and stuff, that would certainly be possible. So like pull in a sidebar like this. But I think it's not too much of an effort to say, like, if this was instead a link that linked to opencollective.com/out-of-the-box, boop, you know what I mean, and just take you to a page like this. I think that is probably okay, especially if like, because I just want, like, my goal is to get this deployed quickly. I don't know how quickly can be, but like in my dream world, this would be deployed by like the time 8.6 is out, so that we could then use this from then on to like plan initiatives. So like I'd love this whole thing to be out on Drupal.org by like mid-July. That would be my dream, because then that's the code freeze for 8.6, and then that's when we start planning 8.7, and we could start planning 8.7 with tools like this. So I want to kind of be careful about phase 1ing, phase 2ing, phase 3ing things a little bit, you know, and phase 1 is like the MVP, like let's just get a place, because like I didn't even know there were initiative meetings for, say, automatic updates. I had to find that out in an internal Acquia Slack channel, and that's dumb. Like there shouldn't have to be like an internal Acquia Slack channel conversation to realize that these initiatives have people working on them and stuff like that. So that's kind of my main goal to solve, not so much all of the things around initiatives, but I figure if we get a really strong foundation, then we can like start building things like more fancy donation options and better contribution credit and that kind of stuff is kind of my. But yeah, I would say, like, if you have ideas on this, I don't know where my window went anymore. Crap. I'm not sure where my window went. But anyway, that the issue I mentioned at the beginning here, please go there, and there it is, 292-2986. It would be great to get feedback on this. Especially because, like, you know, I've donated like an hour or two of my time so far on this, and so nothing is set in stone. It's all really easy to edit and change. And if you want to tag team on it, I would love help, because I don't know. I haven't built a Drupal 7 site in quite a while, so it's like, you know, just trying to figure all that out has been interesting. But yeah, I really appreciate the feedback. Put that as a poll and backer information. I'm trying to think if there were other like opinions here I didn't quite capture, but I really appreciate all the feedback. That's great. Okay, then that's pretty much what I had to say, and I guess that is also time. So
that was exactly on time. Yes.
Oh, bam! Look at that.
Perfect. Cool. That was a great meeting. Thanks everyone for coming. I will post the recording after this now on the initiatives as well on Twitter. And have a great week, everyone. Let's continue the discussion in the UX channel on Slack.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.